Still good. You know, I have a very short camp. A lot of people don't know, but this camp had only 3 weeks and a half. In the second week, I got 10 stitches in my forehead. And we slowed down the training camp. We had some issues, so I couldn't have a full camp. But you know, I think I want to take my time. I was very in the best shape I have been in these fights, for sure. And it was a good move for me to go to Tristar. I want to thank Fihaz, Sandro, and the whole team to receive me there, and it was good, paid off, you know. Going back to the principles of the sport, is just stay away from all the distraction. Me and my Xenia, she couldn't come here, but we were staying in a little room with a little kitchen, just like in the beginning, you know, just like, I think that's the way, if you want a success in life, you have to sacrifice.
You won, but are you happy with your performance?
You know, every victory you have to be happy, but I want to knock him out, and I hurt him pretty bad in the second round and the third round, and he was throwing some kicks just to buy time. I was making mistakes, not checking the kicks, but I wanted to fight 2 rounds. I wanted to go all the way. I want to enjoy the fights. We are reinventing Vitor Belfort again, so we are changing a lot of things in the game, a lot of things that I was doing wrong, so not rushing, taking my time, you know. We had more power in the third round than in the first round, so that's a good thing.
After the fight you mentioned fighting more times, are you planning on negotiating a new deal with the UFC, or maybe fighting this last fight in your contract before signing a new deal?
I have my team. I'm very happy with UFC, and that's the place I want to be. And I'm looking. You know, who knows? A lot of things can change. We can come with the Legend League. A lot of things can change. We need to reinventing ourselves. We see what's happened with Uber. Uber reinventing himself. Lifter came up and started getting a big chunk of them. So in business, you have to invent yourself. So I believe our sport has a lot of room to grow, and UFC is the place, and the people there. They are new buyers. They are very smart. I believe we're going to see big things ahead. I'm very comfortable with that.
Vitor, eu queria fazer 2 perguntas. Primeiro,
2 questions for you, Vitor.
tema de se reinventar.
You're talking about reinventing yourself. You were already talking about that before the fight against Gaslam in your first fight, in your last fight. But we remember that you attacked a lot in that fight. You even said that the plan wasn't exactly what you actually did in the fight. I think you were a little bit anxious, but tonight, no, you looked more relaxed. You looked to be more patient with your attacks. Was that in your mind this time, to be more patient and to hold back and to prove that you could follow a new strategy? Congratulations, you had the correct vision. The word that Firas told me was to have patience. The goal today was to let the Phenom fight and let Vitor Belfort watch. And that's exactly what happened. The Phenom fought and Vitor watched. The crowd was cheering, and I felt, man, now I'm going to go. But I told myself, relax, that's what he wants. So I relaxed, I had patience, I enjoyed it. It's funny because in the beginning of my career, everybody would say that my fights were too quick. And then when it takes too long, people aren't happy. So we're used to seeing Vitor knocking out. And you can see that in a lot of times in the second and third rounds, I almost knocked him out. But I think most importantly, I was able to literally change certain things in my game, move around, and he tried a lot of things, and I didn't just stand. I didn't just believe in my eyes, I believed in my movement. He's a very strong fighter, he's a very tough fighter, he's got a lot of strikes, but I had patience. I think there's a lot of things that we can adjust. It was a very short camp, 3.5 weeks. In the second week, I had to take 10 stitches on my forehead. I don't know if you noticed, but I was wearing a beanie during the open workouts. A lot of people were talking about that, but that's part of it. I fought against everything that I couldn't miss out on. This big party. It was great. I have to thank Faraz and Tristar and everyone who was there adjusting, because there's a lot of things to change. You still have one fight left in your contract. Do you already think of renegotiating now, before this fight, or afterwards? And in these negotiations, do you intend on already demand that there is a talk about your idea of the Legend League? Or is that something that is apart from the negotiations for the contract? As I said before, I really want to help the sport grow, and I want to tell you something. We're still very small, close to what we can be. And I see that there's a lot of things to change still. I see that there's still a lot of rules that are going to change. Fighters don't even know what concussions are. It's something that you guys don't even know what that is. Concussion is something that the gyms and the new fighters, they spar 3 times a week. They have no idea what's going to happen when they're 60 years old. So most importantly in the sport is the safety. And something very important for the athletes that I see here. In every sport, the athlete's making money not only when he competes, but when he's training. We're not making any money when we're training. So I really want to help him grow. I want to help the fighters have a greater conscience that there are a company. Not everyone will be able to do this for 20 years like I have. And the secret is to be able to reinvent yourself. I liked when I was in the locker room house who wrapped my hands. I remember when I fought Chuck Liddell in 2000. He told me, man, you're so young, you're still going to keep fighting, you're doing very well. For me, that was a pleasure because I take care of my body. I'm like a company. And about my contracts, I have a great team that works for me, that represents me. And I'm sure that my will is to make the UFC not only a great entertainment, but a great sport. And that the fighters can understand that as well. I think we have to grow together. We both have to grow. The fighters and the UFC has to continue to grow. And do you want to negotiate this new contract now? Or do you want to have another fight and then renegotiate? I intend on fighting and making a lot of money, and whatever's best. I have a team for that. They take care of the legal issues. I have to take care of my training, and that I'm more prepared in the next fight. And that's what I'm thinking about right now, where we're going and what we have to do. We're already in the locker room talking with Faraz about some things that we have to adapt, a few things that we had to do in this camp that we couldn't. So now we have to keep working, and that's my job. I'm a great entrepreneur, for those who don't know. I'm releasing something really cool, which is Belfort Fitness Lifestyle, which allows me to give back to everyone at home. It's a fitness program where we're going to change. It's 365 different trainings, so every day you have a different training to do. And that's what I want to do, is to be able to give back to people so they can live better, they can live closer to the sport, but to where they can understand their body. Unfortunately, all of us nowadays have habits. All of us want to have longer careers, but not everyone works hard for that. And I want to be able to give back as much as possible to the society. I'm a businessman, and I think a good businessman always has a great team, so I'll let them take care of that, and I'll go take care of Belfort Fitness Lifestyle, which we're releasing now, next month in Florida. And I hope that it's going to be a great success, and we'll be able to help a lot of families. I was also at the press conference at your last fight, and nobody likes to lose, but you looked sad that day. You talked about reinventing yourself and reinventing inside the octagon, but how much of that process did you reinvent also your personality and as a person? In reality, I think all of us, we have a great job of, every day we wake up and we look at ourselves in the mirror, and you have to think, I've done something better, I've grown, what am I contributing to everyone? And we look a lot at ourselves. And athletes have to be a little bit selfish, but I think great athletes have great teams. And when I say team, I don't mean the people that are there every day with you. My greatest team is my family, Joanna, my wife, and my kids. They sat down with me and they said, Daddy, you need to win. And for you to win, you need to dedicate yourself. And we talked. For Ross and Sandra and everyone at Tristar welcomed me, and I went there to do what I had to do. So you just have to remember what took you there, and at the same time what you did right and what you didn't do right. Life, there's no shame in recognizing your flaws. Last week I saw Mark Zuckerberg talking at Harvard. If you haven't watched it, it's really worth the watch. Everyone's a failure. Beyonce, before she became a hit maker, she failed. Everyone's got failures. Failure is actually just a step to victory. But unfortunately, everyone's just used that everything is fast. And unfortunately, not everything works like Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter. There are certain things that take time. And you have to have patience and confidence and know that everything's going to work out. Like Henry Ford said, if you believe that you can or that you can't, you're right in both ways. So you got to be conscious about that.
You talked a lot.
If you want to be in French, I can speak French.
Yeah, I don't. You talked a lot about patience and strategy, and obviously we saw that we're not that used to seeing three-round Vitor, and that's what we got tonight. But how hard was it for you, both in training and during the fight, to kind of hold something, to hold back, even in your mindset, and just it's something that we're so used to seeing you do, and it sounds like, it looks like an instinct, and then just kind of containing that and sticking to the strategy?
It's part of reinventing myself, you know. Now people don't know if Vitor is going to explode in the first round or in the third round. So I finished the third round stronger than the first. You know, I only had 3 weeks and a half to train for this camp. I was totally out of shape. When I arrived in Canada, when I say out of shape, out of fighting shape. I wasn't trained since the last fight. So but I have a healthy life. I live, I train every day, physical, but you have to train fighting. You know, this is the game of fighting. This is different than any other sport. We're not playing soccer, we're not playing with the ball, with the racket. We are totally fighting. And if you don't train smart, if you don't have a good team to sharp you, especially after I'm 40, I think I'm still training, but I have a 40-year-old body, so I have to be smart. And I really felt amazing, you know, in the Tristar. I understand I couldn't reinventing myself, and I'm still doing it. Yeah. So the number one thing for us is, Vitor, patient. We're gonna have a deal. Let the Phenom fight, and let Vitor Belfort just watch. And that's what's happened. Today I was just enjoying and taking my time. You know, I knew I want to finish him, and he was hurt, but I said I'm gonna take my time, because that's something that never happened. If you study my career, I finished people in the first round, second round, and people are not used to see that. So that's something new. And that's good, because that's going to give me an edge to keep pushing people. You know, they don't know what's going to happen. So we're coming with takedowns. George teaching me all his takedowns. So we're coming with a lot of new stuff. So a lot of new things is about to come.
You've never been one to really handpick your opponents, but now at this point of your career, when you're saying that you still want to keep fighting, are there fights that you feel like make sense for you financially, any opponents that you would actually like to face that you have a maybe or even rematches?
For sure. You know, I think they have a lot of good fights out there. We just have to see what's out there. You know, what's going to be good. I have a team, and we make decision as a team. If you don't trust your team, why you having a team? So now I have to. Tomorrow is the birthday of my daughter. I'm gonna arrive there in her birthday. I want to enjoy. I want to get better. I said to Fihad, I said, I'm gonna give you 5 more fights. Something stirred on me. So now I love to train again. I love the fighting game. So that's something is being away from me for my last 3 fights. To tell you the truth, I was burned out, and that light, it's just keep burning, and you just gotta guide. You know, and just let it be, and things ahead, I believe that we're going to make right choices in the future, for sure.
Vitor, Vitor Silva, site Mais MMA. Gostaria de perguntar se o GSP, George St. Pierre...
I'd like to ask if George St. Pierre helped you in training for this fight at all. Because against Anthony Johnson, you trained with him, and I wanted to know if he helped you in this camp. And what did you take from this greater partnership with Xenia in your concentration? How did she help you, this relationship between man and animal? At Tristar, everyone helped me. Not only George, but everyone who was there. George is a guy who was there. He's a very simple man. He was teaching and sharing and learning. For me, it was very good being there with him. Alex, Roy, and only really tough guys. All the new fighters, I learned a lot from them. The trainers there are high level. I have to thank Faraz a lot, and Sandro and the whole team for receiving me with open arms. Xenia is like a mascot for TriStar now. It's very good. It's great to have a trained dog, a service dog that can be there helping me in what I need in day-to-day in company. It was hard being away from my family. I hadn't done that in a long time. And I had their support, and it was great. Unfortunately, Xenia is not here tonight. In Fortaleza, you said that you were still in a good phase, and it was something the media was saying that you were going through a bad phase. Today, you admit that you were going through a bad phase, and you got better with this victory. What does this victory represent to you? And today, Joe Carr also confirmed that the UFC will come back to Brazil in October. Does that interest you to fight in Brazil again? Everything can be negotiated. We have to know that everything has its time. There's still a lot to happen until October. I think victory is very good, but I'm satisfied because I'm able to reinvent myself. And to me, that's something great. It's something unique. Thank you, everyone. All the best.